Hello, hello, and as you can tell by me speaking like this, you can probably assume that this is another blundercast, because do not have the data for this next part. But this is a Burning Wheel, episode 15, the Suicide Squad arc, part 9. It is entitled Savior. So what happened? Boniface, upon the day of his enchanting task, he decided to speak with Eurist about on the backgrounds. Here's the dwarf on the backgrounds of his fellow companions, namely Dolan, Lucius, and Serveus, and learns a little bit about each of them, and also discusses the possibility of Boniface himself becoming a house enchanter should these enchantments work out for the family. Meanwhile, Lucius, Dolan, and Serveus all find themselves knocked into unconsciousness in separate ways. Lucius is attacked by a strange, cloaked, pale figure and is drained of his powers. But he witnesses one of his fellow distractor group people, the orc, tries to come to his rescue, but then is taken out by a brother guard, one of the dwarves who serve the family. Dolan and Rizit, who are trying to escape together, are forced to hide into a cellar, and Rizit has Dolan ingest a white powder, saying that it should help numb his pain, but instead it just seems to knock Dolan out. And then Serveus, uh, in the middle of trying to perform a new ritual, is interrupted by a hand on the back of his head, and his energy is sapped as well. But before anything else happens, Rizit comes to his rescue before he passes out. The group then awakens in Van's home and realize they're captives of Iridra the Wise, the eldest daughter of Mother Gurdra, and her personal bodyguard. She reveals that she was their employer all along, and then has Lucius and Dolan carted off to perform a final thing in order to receive payment for their job well done. Alone, Yurja places the Mask of the Wise upon her face, with the simple task of wanting to know everything about Serveus. Upon her newfound knowledge of his past and who he really is, she asks that she knows Serveus more intimately before he receives a final payment, and Serveus agrees. Meanwhile, Lucius and Dolan are strung up inside some pitch black torture room where an eccentric but mysterious figure informs them that they must sign contracts of servitude for Urge of the Wise before they will be let free. Before things got a little too hot, a young noble, one Uriel Heathing, arrives and steals away Lucius and Dolan. Upon arriving back at the noble's home, Uriel tells them that he saved them because he wished to keep his dear assassin Dolan safe and sound. The two try and get some more information out of the noble, but he's not very forthcoming about major details, and they all decide to keep what happened a little secret. And Dolan and Lucius leave. Dolan, Lucius, and Serveus all meet back up with the Drunken Beard, and after a brief encounter between Lucius and Serveus, Lucius wanting to answers for what happened, and Serveus just as confused as they are, they all decide to investigate inside and find Gooby awaiting them with a sizable stash of gold and jewelry. Lucius immediately questions Gooby about what the hell happened, though Gooby insisted that he was just as in the dark about the whole situation as they were. Dolan tries pressing Gooby again about his injury, discovering that Gooby is not telling him the whole truth, to which Gooby, after Lucius discovers his bird, Feth, is alright, makes a hasty retreat, saying that he does not have a share of the gold, having denied Iridra a final task he was to do in order to receive payment. Upon dividing their shares, the group splits up, Lucius and Dolan heading off to Van so Lucius can hopefully track down the rest of his distraction group, and Serveus wishing to head back home to sleep. Lucius and Dolan find Van's home empty, save for a sobbing Rizit. Upon questioning the rodent, they learn that all of Van's supplies were carted away, and the cloaked figures that worked with Lucius were all found out and taken as well. With little else to learn, the two head back to the barracks for some much-needed sleep. However, Dolan discovers two things of note. One, that Bosco Corvus's dog is no longer around, and two, that the lock to his chest has been melted away, and that his doll is missing. Dolan immediately goes into a panic to find Bosco and proceeds to make wanted posters and, with some small help later from Zervaeus, places them all throughout the kingdom. Zervaeus, instead of sleep, stays up the night expecting company. Company arrives in the form of a young orc child who gives him a small white ball, saying that if the bird ingests it, the bird will sleep. Zervaeus heads out and procures some slop from the butcher, and the next day he does this. And upon running into a frantic Dolan, asks that he give Lucius the eye he received from the butchers to give to Feth. Corvus, on the 8th night of his imprisonment, is greeted by a twisted version of his dog, Bosco, who speaks to him of the doom to him and all he cares for before the abomination bursts before his eyes. Disturbed and feeling very much trapped, Corvus demands of the soon arriving guards that he be relocated and that Arnold Pike and Meredith the Cow, the Inquisitors assigned to his squad, be brought to him. The guards prove useless to him when they deny his requests, and Corvus takes it upon himself to cause a great deal of commotion. That, combined with the frantic cries of the other prisoners, brings down High Lord Orion. Orion and Corvus share a few words, mostly heated about what happened. Corvus, worried about his friends, knowing he isn't safe, and pissed at Orion and his guards, makes a final ultimatum. If Orion does not heed his instructions, he will kill himself. Orion then has guards come in and detain Corvus and proceed to relocate him into what looks like a makeshift torture chamber and placed in stocks and left there, but not before Corvus attempts to shout out to Orion that he will starve himself if he has to.